Okay, everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed our first section of our Precision Nutrition conference. We got an introduction to the different organ systems and different parts of the body that may be affected by nutrition, and an introduction to what precision nutrition is. Now, our next talk will be by Dr. Holly Nicastro, who is a program director for the NIH Office of Nutrition Research. Dr. Nicastro received her Ph.D. from the Department of Molecular and Biochemical Nutrition at the University of California, Berkeley, and completed her master's degree in public health from Johns Hopkins. She then became a fellow in cancer prevention at the National Cancer Institute, and following this, she began working with the NIH. Among her many accomplishments, she was a key contributor to identify core measures to be collected in adult obesity clinical trials. Her publications have assessed inter-individual variability in response to weight loss treatments. As coordinator for nutrition for the Precision Health Program, powered by the All of Us Research Program, Dr. Nicastro is the lead scientist for the overall and day-to-day management of the consortium for ensuring progress towards the program's goal. So, without further ado, we are privileged to have Dr. Nicastro speak to us about this latest initiative. And handing the mic over to Holly.
Thank you, Bruce. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I'm going to be discussing the planning and the NIH Common Fund Initiative, Nutrition for Precision Health, powered by the All of Us Research Program. In addition to spending part of my time with the All of Us Research Program, I'm working to lead this program from the new NIH Office of Nutrition Research, which, as many of you heard from Dr. Francis Collins' announcement last week, has just moved from NIDDK and has now been established in the NIH Office of the Director. This move establishes the Office of Nutrition Research as a trans-NIH effort and locates the office within the Division of Program Coordination, Planning, and Strategic Initiatives, or DPCIPSI. DPCIPSI has a statutory mandate to identify emerging scientific opportunities, rising public health challenges, and knowledge gaps that deserve special emphasis and would benefit from strategic coordination. Now, I think we'd all agree that nutrition would certainly fit this need. So those of us in the new Office of Nutrition Research are really excited to take on this trans-NIH role. And I understand my slides are not advancing. So just know that right now I'm showing a picture of our first ever NIH strategic plan for NIH nutrition research. Related to the new trans-NIH role for us, in May 2020, NIH released this plan. The plan emphasizes cross-cutting, innovative opportunities to advance nutrition research across a wide range of areas, from basic science to experimental design to research training. But the unifying theme of the plan is the science of precision nutrition. And in particular, there we go. So in particular, there's an objective in here, Objective 2.5, develop and validate algorithms to predict what all of us should eat, that sets the stage for the Nutrition for Precision Health program that we are set to launch. In September of 2020, the NIH Council of Councils approved this Common Fund concept. By Common Fund, I mean that the funds and the oversight for this program come from the NIH's Office of Strategic Coordination, also known as the Common Fund, which aims to support trans-NIH projects that are intended to change paradigms, develop innovative tools and technologies, and provide fundamental foundations for research that can be used by the broad biomedical research community. The goal of Nutrition for Precision Health is to develop algorithms to predict individual responses to foods and dietary patterns. We'll do this using the most comprehensive set of inputs, including microbiome, genomics, physiological, contextual, electronic health records, survey, environmental, or any other data that investigators feel may help to explain inter-individual variability in physiological responses to diet. And we're aiming to do this in the largest and most diverse population studied to date in a precision nutrition study. We'll accomplish this by embedding the study within the All of Us Research Program. Nutrition for Precision Health will be the first ancillary study to the All of Us Research Program. All of Us is a key component of the Precision Medicine Initiative launched in 2015. Select and study data from 1 million or more people living in the United States. National enrollment began in 2018, and to date, All of Us has enrolled over 365,000 participants, including over 270,000 who have completed all of the initial steps of the program. And that includes consent, the initial surveys, providing in-person physical measurements, donating a biospecimen, and then agreeing to link electronic health records. All of Us has a strong commitment to diversity of their population and aims to reflect the diversity of people living in the U.S. To date, more than half of All of Us participants belong to one or more racial or ethnic minority groups, and over 80% of participants belong to one of the 8 groups that the program has identified as being traditionally underrepresented in biomedical research. Those groups are based on race, ethnicity, geography, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability status, education, socioeconomic status, and access to healthcare. All of Us also has a data sharing and access policy that ensures that any qualified researcher will be able to access and analyze study data via the All of Us Researcher Workbench. And I understand now that somebody is helping behind the scenes to advance the slide. So I'm on number 6 right now, please. Data collected in Nutrition for Precision Health will be stored and accessed by investigators in the All of Us Researcher Workbench. So for more information on the All of Us Research Program or the Researcher Workbench or how to work with the data, I encourage you all to check out a poster on this during the poster session today. The poster is going to be in section 3, which is titled Application and Future of Precision Nutrition. Next slide, please. Nutrition for Precision Health will take place across 3 modules. Module 1 will be observational in 10,000 All of Us participants. Investigators will study participants' responses to their baseline diets. In Module 2, this will be a controlled feeding study in approximately 1,500 participants who completed Module 1. 3 different dietary patterns will be examined for approximately 2 weeks each, with washouts in between. And Module 3 is a domicile feeding study in 500 different participants who completed Module 1. The same 3 dietary patterns will be studied in Module 3 as in Module 2. And in all 3 modules, many of the same potential predictive measures will be collected in all the participants. The same mixed meal challenges will be conducted. And then Module 2 and Module 3 in particular will provide more opportunities for even richer data collection with more rigor and control. Machine learning and artificial intelligence will then be used to develop the predictive algorithms. So what I just described here is the first 5 years of the program, or what's been approved to date. A potential second phase of this program, which will come after those first 5 years, will then focus on validating any algorithms developed. The hope is that the algorithms developed from this study will be used to drive dietary recommendations that are tailored to individuals or population subgroups. To accomplish the aims of this program, we'll form a consortium of new awardees and existing All of Us components. So at the center here, you see we'll award a new research coordinating center, which would work closely with the All of Us Data and Research Center, which among many other things runs the Researcher Workbench, and the All of Us Participant Technology Systems Center, which runs the participant-facing technology like website and apps. Up to the top left in yellow, we want to make 5 or 6 clinical center awards. The clinical centers are the sites that will collaborate with All of Us to enroll All of Us participants and conduct the nutrition studies. The study will also be supported by 3 data generation centers in the lower left in orange here. One center will conduct metabolomics analyses and clinical assays for the entire consortium. Another new center will do the same. They'll do all the microbiome and all the metagenomic analyses for the entire consortium. And then a dietary assessment center will facilitate the side-by-side application of at least one new innovative dietary assessment approach, in addition to the automated self-administered 24-hour dietary assessment tool, or ASA24. Now on the top right in gray here, a new artificial intelligence, multimodal data modeling, and bioinformatics center will work with the consortium to ensure AI readiness of the data and will develop the predictive algorithms. And the All of Us Biobank will be a key component of the consortium by receiving, processing, distributing, and storing all of the biospecimens collected in the program. Next slide, please. To fund and establish the new components of the program, we expect to publish 6 requests for application, or RFAs, in the coming days. So one for each of the new solicitations I described in the previous slide. Currently, we have 6 active notices of intent to publish. They are listed here and they're listed on our website. We publish these notices several weeks in advance of RFA publication to allow potential applicants enough time to form the teams necessary to be competitive. So as an example, competitive applicants for the Artificial Intelligence Center, this first one listed here, will need to include an expert in artificial intelligence and machine learning, but could also benefit from inclusion of a nutrition subject matter expert. As another example, competitive clinical center applicants are encouraged to form partnerships where possible with investigators from the All of Us research program. That'll help ensure robust enrollment into the Nutrition for Precision Health program. Now, I do need to note that while you're checking out these notices of intent to publish, you're going to see that the published estimated date of publication for the RFAs is January 8th, which of course was 3 days ago. And the RFAs were not published on the 8th, but this is still a fairly close estimate. We do anticipate that they'll be published shortly. You can subscribe to the NIH guide to stay up to date on publication of these, and we'll also post them on our website as soon as they're available. Next, please. This is a very high-level timeline that we're working with. So we do still estimate that the FOAs will be published in January, and then we expect to receive applications by April. That would have us making the initial awards, in early 2022, about a year from now. The first year of all awards for this program will be a planning year. All PIs and the NIH working group will come together and form a steering committee. And that steering committee is going to develop the final protocol during that year. So it may be possible that applicants apply with certain ideas in mind, and then if funded, those ideas would morph after discussion and come into consensus with the other awardees. During this year, key details like the exact diets to study in modules 2 and 3 and the most important outcome measures to study will be finalized. And then the first participant is expected to be enrolled in early 2023. And the program will be funded, like I said, for 5 years total. So that's 1 year for a planning year and 4 years for conducting the study and analyzing the data and developing the algorithms. Next slide, please. Please continue to check the Nutrition for Precision Health website for updates. It's at commonfund.nih.gov/nutrition for precision health. Some anticipated updates include publication of the RFAs soon, scheduling of a pre-application webinar to help answer any questions that potential applicants might have about the RFAs once they're out, and we'll publish frequently asked questions about the RFAs there. The URL is listed here. You can also get there with a quick web search for NIH Nutrition for Precision Health, or just go to the Common Fund website and choose it from the programs list. In addition, RFAs and a notice about any pre-application webinars will also be published in the NIH guide. Next, please. Before I close, it's very important that I acknowledge the hard and dedicated work of the NIH Nutrition for Precision Health Working Group who helped bring all this to fruition, including our program's co-chairs, who include the directors of 4 NIH institutes, plus the All of Us research program, and the rest of our leadership team and our working group, whose membership spans 17 different NIH institute centers and offices. Next, please. I can be reached via chat during this meeting today at any of these 3 email addresses listed here. And we've also allotted some time in the program today for some questions about the program. For any specific questions on individual eligibility or unique circumstances, I'll encourage you to reach out via email to find a time to chat. Our website also lists the individual program officers for each notice of intent to publish, which then will correspond to a future RFA. So with that, I'm going to invite Chris Lynch to join me. He's the acting director of the NIH Office of Nutrition Research and my co-coordinator for Nutrition for Precision Health. So he's going to come on and moderate a short Q&A session from the questions that I believe you all have been submitting during this talk. Thank you. Welcome, Chris.
Hi. Okay. The first question is, you mentioned that 3, dietary patterns would be examined in Module 2 and Module 3. Can you say what those patterns are? What patterns do you think that are going to be studied?
I cannot say what the 3 patterns are because we're going to have our applicants propose what they feel would be the most appropriate dietary patterns to study. And then again, the steering committee will decide on the final patterns. So we'll have different applicants come in. We expect to fund 5 to 6 clinical center awards, so we'll need all of those to come to consensus. However, a couple notes, we do need the 3 diets to be different enough from each other so that we can reasonably expect to see some physiological differences in response to those diets. And we're also going to ask that the 3 diets be isocaloric. So we don't want to bring any weight changes or potential weight changes into the equation here.
Okay, very good. And so what about the role of industry? Some of the measures that have been described, are already provided by commercial vendors. For example, Metabolons has a platform. Other companies may have other kind of engagement platforms. Can industry apply for these projects?
Yeah, so the RFAs will list full eligibility of who can come into these. So yes, you can be forming partnerships with industry, and anybody who is eligible for these NIH grants, as outlined in the forthcoming RFAs, will be eligible to apply.
Okay. And is it expected that those funded as clinical centers conduct all 3 phases?
We expect that each clinical center should be able to do Module 1 plus at least 1 other module. So you could propose to do Module 1 and 2, 1 and 3, or all 3.
Okay. Are there any funding opportunities for training a registered dietitian or nutritionist in the area of precision nutrition? And this isn't a training program, but are there opportunities, let's say, for a registered dietitian and nutritionist in this study?
Yes, and again, this will be another one where I'll ask you to refer specifically to the RFAs when they are out, because again, they're going to outline some eligibility, but as well as some personnel requirements here. But I do see many potential roles for registered dietitians in this study.
Okay, and will the studies include children or adolescents?
That's a great question. We're going to be enrolling from the All of Us research program, which currently enrolls adults 18 and older. So children will not be a part of this study.
Okay. And does anybody else have any other questions? All right. Will the data from the modules, this is a good question actually, be made open access for other researchers to analyze? And I think this is an opportunity to mention the philosophy about that now, Holly.
Right. So one of all of us' core values is making the data available to any eligible researcher. So the data collected in this study will all find its way into the All of Us researcher workbench. So from there, any qualified or eligible researcher can go in and access and work with the data. So yes, it will be open source via the All of Us researcher workbench.
And then given the specialized centers, to what extent will it be expected that the clinical centers, and now my questions went down. So yeah, we'll need to have expertise in AI, metabolomics, and microbiome, and things like that.
The clinical centers, not necessarily. because again, the metabolomics will be handled by a special center, metagenomics by a special center, and so on. And all of the PIs for all of the centers plus the clinical centers are going to work collaboratively on this project. So
they'll all be involved in planning, in the planning year.
They'll all be involved in planning and development of the final protocol.
Is it anticipated that members of a center are all at the same location?
We could talk about some specific, some specific exceptions. It would make sense for one center to all be reasonably close to each other because all of the other centers will be distributed throughout the country. I'm sure there are some specific models though where other things could work. So I would encourage you to reach out and have that discussion with us. Okay.
And do clinical centers have to be proximal to all of us existing centers?
Great question. So the clinical centers will need to enroll all of us participants. So for those of you who have an all of us enrollment at your site, you can imagine this might be a little bit easier for you. For those of you who don't have an existing all of us enrollment site, you will still have options for enrolling new participants into the All of Us research program and then recruiting into and then recruiting into Nutrition for Precision Health. So this will require a bit more work on your part. There will be some behind the scenes IRB and other things that would have to get set up. So if this is something you are considering pursuing, what we'd like you to do is reach out very early in the application process, so now, essentially, to let us know that this is something you're considering, and we can make sure that you're in touch with the right people and that you fully understand what would be involved if this is a route you want to take.
And then that's good. Thanks, Holly. And then modules 2 and 3, are they intended to be full feed trials with all the foods cooked, weighed, and supplied to participants?
Yes, we do expect that those who can handle modules 2 and 3 would be preparing foods in a metabolic kitchen or using other innovative methods to ensure that the foods being provided to participants are the same from site to site even. So I think at a minimum, having a metabolic kitchen or registered dietitians who understand how to do this type of work will be essential.
And if the data is accessible to everyone to analyze, what is the role of the AI Data Analysis Center?
The AI Center is going to be quite busy. Throughout, they're going to be advising on AI readiness of the data. They're also going to be have some sort of role in the curation and working with the data, and they will be the ones who are developing these first pass algorithms. They'll be working with other data sets that they either bring in or generate. Again, this will be fully outlined in the RFA, so I don't want to get too ahead of it here. But they will have opportunities to really refine these ahead of time. Now, it is true that the data will make its way to a researcher workbench, so others will be free to come in and develop other algorithms. But the AI Center will be integral throughout the whole program and not just in that final development of the algorithm.
But this is also going to be an incredibly rich data set that people may use that have questions that we haven't really imagined yet. So, for example, if people have a various genes or defects or haploinsufficiencies in certain genetic pathways affect something, during a meal challenge test or satiety measures or things like that. It's really going to be an incredibly rich data set from which many different questions can be answered. And then what will be the appropriate policy-related research, application of developing algorithm to population management? I'm not sure I'm getting that question. How about you, Holly? It says, will grants be appropriate for, policy-related research? Maybe after the study is underway.
Well, if I'm understanding the question correctly, I believe this study is working to provide the evidence base for making more personalized recommendations. So specific policy research might be a bit out of scope for this particular project.
Okay. And to what extent do you anticipate this study will pursue research gaps identified by the most recent dietary guidelines?
Well, again, we're looking to provide the evidence base for making more individualized nutrition recommendations. And it could be related to specific foods or related to specific dietary patterns. Throughout the study, we plan to capture both, because in Module 1, we'll be collecting all of the usual foods that people eat. And then in Modules 2 and 3, the focus will be on broader dietary patterns. So really, we're going to create that rich data set. Our end goal is to create the algorithms that will enable more personalized recommendations. But with that rich data set and the data collection, there might be some even more opportunities for researchers to go in after the fact and access the data and answer even more questions.
And then somebody asked, and maybe they're referring to all of us, how were the recruitment sites chosen? Well, nobody's been chosen for our study yet, but maybe they're talking about the all of us health provider organizations.
Oh, well, the All of Us current enrollment sites were funded from previous competitions, the same way that our enrollment sites or clinical centers will be funded after a competition. If anybody has further questions about this, I encourage them to reach out to me and I can connect them with the appropriate people to help answer those more detailed questions.
And then how transparent will the study-wide development of the final protocol be? Will there be opportunity for public comment?
I don't anticipate a public comment period necessarily for this, for the research grant or cooperative agreement type, the mechanism that we're working with here. However, all awardees will have input. There will be in-person meetings as well as regular calls, and I trust that this group of investigators will bring in any relevant expertise needed to help them arrive at that consensus.
Okay, and it's possible we could explore that again later.
Sure.
Yeah, we just haven't planned for that presently. And then, what exactly is more individualized? What will this look like in the long term and back and forth between the patient healthcare provider, as shown in the previous presentations, or what about a broader scale like race, sex, age, specific dietary guidelines?
Yeah, if I had to predict where this is all going to end up, I would think that it's those broader categories that are going to provide the most insights at first. Again, we're going to work to develop the most important predictive measures that feed into these algorithms. So things like race and sex, age, menopausal status, I imagine are going to be huge predictors. There might be some other things that we identify, specific microbiome metabolites, specific genes, et cetera, that really haven't been looked at in this fully integrated way. There might be social determinants of health that will really be important. So I think the goal would be then we'd identify what those predictors are. Some of them will be routinely gathered at a provider visit. Some of them currently aren't, and maybe we can make the case that they should be.
And then this study we're hoping will help improve some of our dietary assessment tools. Can you say something about what dietary assessment tools are going to be used and how dietary assessment fits into this study?
Sure. We're going to ask that the dietary assessment facilitate collection through the clinical centers of the ASA24 plus one new innovative or other measure that's fit to be tested in 10,000 people. So we would do both the dietary assessment methods in all three modules, and we'll easily have the opportunity in Module 3 at least to be doing double labeled water. So we'll have two different types of dietary assessment plus that gold standard all available in this data set.
Okay. And I don't know if you're familiar with this study, Holly, but how do you think this study adds to the Food for Me study that that has been done in the EU?
I would have to catch up on that study before being able to answer this question.
Okay. And then what is exactly is more individualized? What will this look like in the long term, back and forth between the patient, healthcare provider, as shown by previous presentations, or what about broader scale like race, sex, age, specific dietary requirements?
So I think we answered that one.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Sorry, but I am getting the signal to wrap.
Okay. All right.
Is there one other quick question?
Just one. How will the data from the different dietary interventions be compared? Like it will be within individual, correct?
Okay, so every individual will get all 3 dietary patterns. So each individual will serve as his or her own control.
Okay. All right. Well,
okay.
thanks very much, Holly. All right. All right.
Thank you. And we encourage everybody to use the break time to go and check out some posters in the poster presentation. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.